feels so weird. Okay, I can do this. Oh. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about something a little bit more serious and different, which is why I feel like I'm acting a little weird. So today I want to talk to you so I asked you guys on Instagram if you guys would be interested in hearing my stories of me growing up and me being bullied as a kid and how it's kind of changed me mentally as I've become an adult. I wanted to share this message just as people are going back to school. I wanted people to like hear bullying is not cool. I think that's obvious, but for some reason it is still happening. So I wanted to just share this message and share how like it's affected me personally, and I just wanted to share my experience. It's also something you guys have asked me to share on Instagram, and I just thought it's time for me to sit down and really tell you guys what happened when I was a kid. I don't know why I just like my heart is beating at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I've never shared this so publicly before. I mean, I've shared it with some of my close friends, but I never really shared it publicly. So I'm just like a little nervous. So when I was a kid, English was my second language. I grew up on a military base, but I live off base, but I went to school on base. So I went to a Department of Defense school, and it was very different than like going to a Korean school or like a public school. It was just like a different experience. There's very little people. There's only like 20 people per class, which is good, but also if you're like the kid that's getting bullied, like that's like 19 versus 1. So you're like the weird one out. I didn't speak English at all, and so I knew how to say like, my name is Crystal, and like that's kind of it. And obviously it was hard to make friends because I didn't speak English. When I was younger, I got bullied a lot. Yeah, when I was it's like, I don't know why it's so emotional. When I was younger, I got bullied a lot. I remember like me going to school, like maybe this is why I didn't like school buses, but I remember like going on a school bus, and it was like a little van at the time because our school was like super small. And I remember like, you know, yeah, I remember getting on the bus, and like this girl, I still remember her name. She friended me on Facebook, which like, anyway, story for a different time. But I would go on the bus, and I would always carry 2 lunch tickets because this girl, she would always take my lunch ticket, and that's like what you need to eat lunch. And so like if I didn't bring 2 lunch tickets to school, like I wouldn't have lunch. And every morning like I would have a cookie. Like my mom would like pack me something little for me to eat in the morning, and she would always take it from me, and she would be like, you're so fat, like you don't need to eat more. And every day, I remember in like 3rd or 4th grade, like I would go to school crying and I would leave school crying, and it was like literally the worst experience ever, you know? Like as a kid, like you never want to go through something like that, especially like every day. So it was really hard for me, and I like obviously I didn't enjoy that. I think one of the worst things, there's a lot of bad things that happened. Like I was tripped over in the lunchroom, and I had like all my lunch spilled out. Like this is like literally like what you see in Mean Girls or something. Like happened to me. Like I would flip my lunch because someone tripped me, and like I would not be able to like put it back in my tray, obviously, because like it's on the floor. And I like ran out crying. And I think this one is particularly bad because I remember it so much, and I never like told anyone. Okay. So So I would, so every like Friday or Saturday, I don't remember what day it was, but every Friday or Saturday, I remember my parents would play bowling. And this was still when I didn't really speak English. And I remember like this guy who was there like chilling, I don't know who he is, but he was in 6th grade. And this guy who was chilling, like he would like always try to talk to me, and I'm like, I don't know who he, like I can't speak English, so I can't talk to him, you know. And I don't know what he was like trying to say, but I think because obviously I didn't speak English, but I don't know what he was trying to say, but he was like trying to be like, hey, like come outside, like whatever. So like so I just like went outside because he was like, yeah, let's go outside. And like my friend and my brother was like playing outside too, so I was like, oh, like what could go wrong, you know, like we're gonna be literally like right outside the door, like who cares, and we're on base, which is like pretty safe. And so I went outside and he like started rubbing my shoulders, and I was like, this is kind of weird, and I was just letting it happen because like I didn't know like what's happening. And I remember him like going slowly down my shirt, and he like touched my boobs, and I was like, what the fuck? And I remember being like, in my like instinct, I just like sat down because he was behind me and he was like touching my boobs. And so I just sat down, and his like hand slipped out, and I ran to the gym, which was like right next to the bowling alley. I ran to the gym and I just like hid under the bleachers for like a minute. And I can't remember if I was like crying or like whatever. I like blocked that whole part of my life like out, but I just like remember being so scared under the bleachers. I just was scared to tell my parents, and also like I didn't speak English, so it wasn't like I could scream and all of a sudden like say something, you know, like be like, oh my god, this guy touched me. Like I can't say that. I remember that being like really traumatic for me, and not being able to voice like that. So I went to school the next day, and our school is so small that like 1st through 6th grade they all like eat together in the same, you know, like cafeteria. And I remember like him and his friends like laughing, and I was just like mortified. Like I couldn't say anything, I couldn't tell teachers, I couldn't, you know, like there was no translator at my school either, so it was like impossible for me to like anything, like say anything. And I think I would never want anyone to feel like as trapped as I did. Like yes, this happened when it wasn't at school, but it was like still things that happened like throughout school. I can't, but it's still like people made fun of me for reasons I don't know. Like I'm sure there were rumors, like it was just horrible. And I remember like even in classrooms it was horrible. Like I know ESL is English as second language, and like you have a special class you go to like when there's a certain period, like you go to ESL. Usually it was like during my like history or language like English classes, I used to go to ESL, and so I would go to ESL during those periods. But one day like I didn't go to ESL for some reason. My English teacher's name was Miss Palomares, and she's like literally like angel on earth. Like she was so amazing. I don't know if she remembers me. If you're ever watching this video, like you really helped me through some hard times. Because like I didn't think I had anyone that I can talk to, and I feel like even if like I just felt like ESL was like where I could go to like just be myself. And she, when I was having a bad day, I feel like she knew, and like she would let me just play with Barbies or whatever. But yeah. One day I ended up not going to ESL, and I had to like participate in English class. And you know, the teacher would call people's name, and you would read like just like any third, fourth grade classroom, and I would like sit there, and I would never raise my hand, clearly, because I can't read. I remember like the teacher in this class, like she was like, oh Crystal, it was English class, and she was like, oh Crystal, why don't you try to read? And I know she was like trying to help me, but like the girl who picked on me when I was like in my bus, she was also in my class, and she was in my grade, and she would be like, oh, she can't read, like she's an ESL, she doesn't speak English. And it was like, I totally understood like she doesn't speak English, and I remember being so embarrassed, and I had to actually read. And I remember being so embarrassed of like reading the textbook that I was like, I almost like feel like I blocked out that part of my childhood. Like I was like, I like try to avoid it, you know? And I remember like not wanting to go to school, and you know, I remember not being able to like express myself in a way that I wanted to, because like I fully didn't really understand like what I was feeling. And I mean, not only do I not speak English, so like I can't like, I don't know, express my feelings in a way I want to. Anyway, so that was rough. And eventually I moved to a different school, and I had a little bit of a hard time making friends. And I remember other friends like welcoming me to their group, and this like one like kind of popular group of girls, like they asked me like sit with them, and I started swim team. And so I started like, you know, working out and actually like losing weight and stuff, because I was like pretty chubby as a kid. And I remember by 8th grade when I got like skinnier and I was on like cheerleading and stuff, like people started being nicer to me, and that made me feel like, wow, I knew you like 5 years ago or 4 years ago, because it's like the same kids that went to school, but it's like, man, I knew you like so many years ago when you like literally would like tell me to get off the swings, and you said I was ugly and fat and I couldn't speak English. And I just remember them being so nasty, and then like finally like being nice because I was like a cheerleader, you know? And I just thought, that's so fucked up. And that is not to say that like I never had my mean moments. I absolutely like fucked up and had times when I was like a bad person to somebody, I'm sure. But I just want everyone to know as they're going back to school that like bullying is not okay, that it like still makes impressions on you as an adult. Like I'm 30 years old, and I feel like I still like look back and I still like feel like sad about it, because like, man, if I was like the young girl, if I could tell my younger self, I would have been like, stand up, it's okay, you know, like it's okay to cry, and it's okay to like, it's gonna get better. That's what I would have said, and I wouldn't have been so scared, you know? And I would have like, to be honest, I would have like told on everyone. I know I also have to work on myself time to time, but I hope that like as people are going back to school, that that like you guys stand up to bullies, and that you're not a bully. And yeah, that's what I hope. And I hope like me sharing this story and you seeing me maybe like I didn't mean to like, I thought I was gonna keep it together, but me reacting this way, like you can see that like it really hurts people, even like down the line. Like the things that you say now does stick with the people that you hurt, and it doesn't go away, and it's really sad, and it affects people's lives, you know? And so anyway, moving on. So with this, I wanted to share my story because you guys have asked me on Instagram, and I also wanted to share this movement I'm building called Glow Together, and it says no to bullying online and offline, to invite people to your groups of friends. If you see people sitting down by themselves, like saying how are you, and like inviting people and really like disrupting negative spaces. By that I mean, like, you know, if you see someone bullying, like take a breath, tell someone if it's something that you can't stop, or like step in and say, hey, like that's not cool, you know. I saw a story not too long ago where a kid stood up for another kid and he got beaten like so bad and he had to go to the hospital, and I don't want that ever to happen to anyone. So like if it's a space where like you can't stop it or you don't feel safe doing that, like tell an adult. And I know that sounds like being a snitch, but like it's better than having someone like broken and having someone not show up to school because they were beat so bad, or like they're so bullied or they're emotionally hurt and they have to go through like therapy because they can't get over going to school because of bullies for like 2 years. There's a lot to unpack here, but I'll be sharing more of my stories. But let me know if you want to be part of Glow Together. I would really love for you to be part of it. And I made an Instagram. We have one picture, but we're going to start sharing people's stories. So if you have a story, I would love to hear it. You can submit it anonymously, or with your name if that's like your jam. If not, then that's cool too. All right guys, so I hope you guys can join Glow Together. I would really appreciate your support in saying no to bullying. I hope you guys can join the movement so that we can make it so big, so that it reaches Korea. All right guys, thank you so much for watching this video and listening to me. Yeah, thank you, and I hope to see you on Glow Together. Bye bye.